So we all do it. We all look for answers and for guidance to those crucial questions in life outside of ourselves. We do what I call outsourcing our intuition to our friends, our family members, our colleagues. We even do it on Facebook, right? We go to Facebook and we write a post and we look for the answers there. It's called outsourcing your intuition. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to discover the truth through using and cultivating your intuition. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa ENGLES-WITTER, and welcome to my channel where I help spiritual seekers just like you to get simple answers to deep spiritual questions. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do that. Just hit the subscribe button below the video. And if you want to get notified when my newest videos show up, please click on the notification bell as well and you'll get notified. So are you someone who outsources your intuition? You know what I mean. When you don't know what to do, when you need advice, when you don't quite know what the truth is, you go to your friends, you go to your family members, maybe you go to colleagues, or maybe you're one of those people who goes into a Facebook group and writes a long post asking for advice only to get more confused and anxiety ridden because of the 237 answers that you get that are all saying different things. It can be a really tumultuous way to try to discern what it is that you should do next when you're outsourcing your intuition. So there are, generally speaking, two ways that people try to attain the truth or try to arrive at the truth of an issue that they're dealing with. One is through sense perceptions. We have our five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, right? So it's through our senses that we gain information from our outer world. And then the second thing that we need along with that, which is the second way that we arrive at the truth, is through our inference or through our mind, our reasoning. So we take our senses, how we perceive the world through our senses, and then we interpret it through our mind, through our reasoning. And this is how most people solve problems. This is how most people arrive at what they think is the truth of a situation, circumstance, or event. Now, the problem with that way of doing it, of arriving at the truth, is that our sense perceptions aren't always correct, are they? If your sense perception is wrong, then the way that you infer or reason will also be wrong. So if your senses lie, then that means that your mind is going to lie as well. Not on purpose necessarily, right? You'll draw the wrong conclusions. So let's look at an example that's really easy. We might see, a flame, and we'll So let's look at a really simple example of that. For instance, you might see in the distance, I live in Northern California, there's lots of fires always happening around here in the fall, which we're moving into fall right now. So I might see in the distance what looks like smoke to me, and I might think to myself, oh my God, there's another wildfire happening. Only to find out later that my senses deceived me, and that it actually wasn't smoke, it was a dust storm in the distance. But because of my past experience and because of my conditioning and because of the time of year and my reasoning, I misinterpreted what my senses were showing me, and I came up with the wrong conclusion. So this happens all of the time. That was a really simple example, but I'm sure you can think of times in your life when you thought one thing when it was really the other thing, and you took actions based on what you thought was happening that were maybe not really the actions you would have taken had you known the truth of what was really going on. So again, our perception or our senses don't always perceive the truth as it really is. And if our senses don't perceive the truth as it is, then our mind will not perceive the truth as it really is. So in addition to my really simplistic example of the smoke and it not being fire in the end, that's really a simplistic way of looking at it. But what we need to know is that our senses and our mind are also clouded by our conditioning. How we experience the world is based on our cognitive biases. It's based on our conditioning in what in yoga they would call our samskaras. So what's the solution? How do we actually obtain the truth of or arrive at the truth of a situation, circumstance, or event? Well, of course, you know the answer to that because it's what this video is all about, is intuition. Yoga tradition tells us that there's this third way to arrive at the truth, and it's what we call our intuition. Now, once you've cultivated your intuition and you've learned how to tap into your intuition, you'll always be able to accurately perceive the truth of a situation, circumstance, or event. Now, let's give a definition to intuition so that we're on the same page here and we know what we're talking about. So the definition that I'm going to use is a definition that Paramahansa Yogananda gave for intuition. And this is what he defined intuition as. Intuition is that power of spirit inherited by the soul by which truth is perceived directly without the medium of any other faculty. Intuition is soul guidance appearing naturally in man during those instances when his mind is calm. So again, I want to stress here that as long as your intuition remains undeveloped, you're going to mainly be guided by this limited understanding that we all have of our senses and our mind, and you'll have these occasional hits of intuition. So the downside of living life like that is that your actions end up being misguided and having negative consequences because of your actions. It's sort of like you get this mixed bag of actions that are both good and bad, which result in, of course, consequences, a mixed bag of positive and negative consequences. So you become bound by the law of cause and effect, or karma. But let's go back to this first part of the definition of intuition, where Yogananda says that intuition is the power of spirit inherited by the soul by which truth is perceived direct. So if you don't know what the difference between spirit and soul is, I have another video that you should watch on that, because it's really, really important to understand what is spirit and what is soul. Really quickly, the soul is a reflection of spirit, the one divine love intelligence. And it's through meditation that we can access our soul and therefore spirit and therefore intuition. But let's look at this a little bit deeper and recognize once again that intuition is not ever accessed through our senses, through our thoughts, or through our intellect. And this is where so many people go wrong, and they think, oh, I'm just tuning in to my intuition, but they're not in the proper state, meditative state, to actually access their intuition. So they're still using their senses, their thoughts, and their intellect. And how many times have you been in a situation when things have been rough and you try to calm yourself, but you can't? Your mind is racing and you're trying to figure things out with your senses, your thoughts, and your intellect. It's not going to happen. And I know that you've had the experience of being frustrated by not being able to figure things out, which is why you've outsourced your intuition in the past, right? Okay, so here's the next thing that Yogananda says about intuition. Intuition manifests in the calm consciousness as feeling, perceived mostly through the heart. When such a feeling comes, you receive through it a definite sense of right direction and unshakable conviction. So I'm sure you've had that experience before when you've got a hit of intuition and you just knew it was right. That's it. That's what intuition feels like. It's that unshakable conviction. There is no doubt when intuition is involved. Doubt only comes when the senses, thoughts, or intellect is involved, when we're too much in the mind. And I know that you've heard this before, but maybe you're hearing it in a different way now. So with practice, you can definitely cultivate intuition and recognize it really easily, not doubt it when it comes, because that's what sometimes we do in the beginning when we start to have these intuitive hits. We doubt ourselves. So with practice and with cultivation, you'll easily be able to recognize intuition. And you don't want to give up your reason and your intellect. We weren't given our mind for nothing, to throw it away. We don't want to give up reason and intellect, but what we want to be able to discern is, am I in a place of emotional calm when I'm using my reason? Because that will lead to your intuition. However, if you're in a place of upheaval, emotional upheaval, it's never going to lead to your intuition. So ultimately, undeveloped intuition is going to lead to thinking errors, and it's going to lead to errors of judgment. So we want to cultivate and use our intuitive powers as much as possible. And Yogananda really encouraged this to his disciples and to his followers. And he always said, you know, in your relationships with others, in your business, in your married life, in every part of your life, intuition is absolutely essential. And he would say that by not developing this really important faculty, this sense, this sixth sense of intuition, you end up, as we've already said, making wrong decisions, picking the wrong business associates, getting caught up in the wrong relationships. So all those types of important life decisions really depend on having a good sense of intuition. So before we wrap up this video, I want to give you 3 steps to cultivate your intuition. And these are the steps that Yogananda revealed to his disciples, and that if you are a disciple currently of Yogananda, or if you've studied any of the self-realization fellowship writings, you'll find these steps in cultivating your intuition. And anybody can use them, and I highly recommend it. So step number 1 is that whenever you want to solve a problem intuitively, you need to first go into a state of meditation or silence. And you don't want to think about your problems yet at this point during your meditation. You just want to access that state of meditation or silence. So then the second step in cultivating your intuition is to concentrate simultaneously on 2 points. You want to concentrate on your heart, and you also want to concentrate on your spiritual eye, also known as the Christ consciousness, or the third eye, or the 6th chakra. So you want to concentrate there, and simultaneously on those 2 points. And then finally, you want to ask Spirit to guide your intuition, to direct your intuition, so that you know how to solve the problem, whatever it is that's arising for you in your life. All right, so like I said, meditation is critical for developing your intuition, and if you need more guidance, I have a meditation that will help you to develop your intuition. You can get it by clicking on the link in the description below. And also, if you don't know the difference between soul and spirit, please be sure to watch the video that I have on the difference between the soul and spirit, which I'll also put the link to that in the description below. So it is time for question of the day. How do you use your intuition to help you in making decisions in your life? I invite you to leave a comment below, and let's have a conversation about intuition. I think it's a really important one. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do that. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, and be sure to hit that notification bell as well if you've subscribed, so that you know when my next video comes out. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time. Namaste.